Hi everyone, I'd like to introduce you to Skye Coelho, and she's talking to us today from the beautiful Costa Blanca in Spain. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, this is Zoe, aka Skye Coelho. Skye Coelho is one of my writer's names, one of my pseudonyms. My other one is Saffron Melo Castro. Skye Coelho is specific to my 2020 book, 2020 When Time Stood Still, which I wrote during lockdown. And I think it was during that period that I first made contact with Roseanne here in Spain. And I've been in every book of hers since. So I will just begin with sharing my experiences of 2020. So I was caught in Dubai visiting my sister. I was there with my youngest daughter, and fortunately or unfortunately, I instantly knew something was up. I have a long history of deep diving down many rabbit holes since the 90s, specifically with the pharmaceutical companies when I was damaged by Prozac, and a lot of my journey began there. So when this happened, my initial response was literally, oh no, not again, which was actually very disturbing because it made me realise that I'd either lived through this in another lifetime or I had some higher knowledge, but there was never any doubt in my mind that what was going on was extremely off and very dark and wasn't what we were being told. So I'm not going to go into all the experiences here because it's too long, but you can read about those in Roseanne's other books. But we eventually made it back to Spain, where we were locked down for months, literally like prisoners. It was horrific. But that led me to write my book and meet many interesting characters along the way, including the likes of Dr. Dolores Cahill, who used to work with Fauci. I was part of various organisations, and 2021, a friend of mine and myself organised various lockdown protests, which also led me to Madrid, where I came into contact with some rather interesting characters, the type that are coming out now in the hideous e-files, those Chinese dissidents that, by the looks of it, were using us Westerners to disseminate information, and were being funded by the likes of apparently Trump, Steve Bannon, and many others. So yeah, I've had an interesting background. Sadly, during that period, I began to lose many special people in my life, including my dear father, who was taken ill, subsequently put in hospital. My worst nightmare began. Everything I've been fighting against became personal. And of course, I was not vaccinated, as were not my daughter or anyone else I knew in the end. This all goes back to my knowledge of pharmaceutical companies and experimental vaccines, which I already had heard about decades before. But this, of course, meant we weren't able to be with my father, and that began a big battle, a personal battle, which didn't end well for any of us. And once he passed, I'd had enough of the darkness, the fights. I had a lot of anger, justified anger and hatred, and I had to step away from everything and work on myself and that anger that was obviously very destructive. And that's when I began my kind of off-grid journey. I ended up in the mountains at a friend's caravan, went on to a donkey sanctuary, another piece of land, looking for my peace, connecting with nature, which has always been my biggest healer. And I'm happy to say, nearly 6 years on, my Norwegian partner, Gabe, who I met online, now have our own land here in Spain. You can see some of the beautiful views behind me. And quite honestly, that is my saviour. Nature is my saviour. The times we're in, of course, this is not over. There is still so much more to come. And with the release of those hideous e-files, I found myself exercising poor judgment and deep diving again, which included last night, which didn't end well for my brain. I'd also experienced a brain hemorrhage during these difficult years, and the last 2 years I spent recovering, which also meant even just doing a video today, I'm so much more articulate and able to focus than I was, but it's a little bit of a task for me. But anyway, I was about to say, I learned a valuable lesson again last night, that as I started to deep dive again and realised I was just once again going back into the darkness, I don't need the details. I understand how that crap works, and I need to practice what I preach. So one of my lessons, I hope this maybe help others out there who maybe have the same issues, when we deep dive too deeply and feel the darkness coming in again. So for me it's nature. So last night I had to step away, step outside under the stars and the moon, and I connect with a memory that brings me internal joy, which in this case is my 2-year-old niece, who very recently ran to me and hugged me for unlimited time and just showed such unconditional love that it touched me in a very deep way. So I connected with that feeling. I took my mind to a place that brings me peace, which right now is here. Put a smile on my face, even if it's forced in that moment, but you're still convincing the brain otherwise. And I do some deep breath work, and it really grounds me again and removes all that darkness, takes me back to where I need to be. And I'm also practicing Qigong and various mantras, and this really helps to calm my mind and uplift my mood. And basically, yeah, this is still a long journey that we have ahead, and we're going to need as many tools as possible, but they're out there. And community, and like this right now, I'm so happy to be part of this group of contributors and many others who read the book, and all of us are on our journey towards a better earth and a collective consciousness that hopefully will just continue to rise and awaken. Anyway, sending you all lots of love. Wish I could be with you today. I hope this video is not too wonky. Big hugs, and thank you again, Roseanne, for the great work you've done documenting this very important time in history, which I think for future generations will be invaluable. Much love.